Namaste, my friends. Just getting over a cold. I just thought about a quotation that really hit me. You know, when you live spontaneously, you don't set up any conditions for yourself. And as a result of that, you're very free and unattached to whatever occurs. But a quote came to me that I want to share with you. And it is, to be nothing is perfection, but to be something is a limitation. It's about an hour ago that I was in a contemplative, let's say, mood, if you will. And it just came to me. So to be nothing is perfection, to be something is a limitation. Why? Because when you perceive yourself to be something, you're unaligned with reality. Then you take form, you take shape. But how? You take shape through concepts. And the thing is, to be something takes a lot of effort that is not always in agreement with the flow of life, because you create impositions and limitations upon yourself. Your conceptual idea has a lot of limitations, has a lot of taboos. It's not free. Your conceptual self is not free. So that's why you have to wake up from the conceptual self. Now, my brother sent me something fascinating this morning, and maybe this is what led to this contemplation. So I thank you, my dear brother, for this. And he mentioned to me that in ancient Egypt, there is a term called Nefer, because they didn't have the symbol 0. Nefer was used, and I was just doing some research on that because this is new to me, and I wanted to share with you. I thought it was fascinating. So in ancient Egyptian, there was no true concept of the number 0. But they had symbols to represent nothing or empty. And in certain contexts, like measuring land or surveying, the term Nefer, which is spelled N-F-R, even though that's not in hieroglyphics, but I guess that's the modern, Roman spelling, has been suggested by some scholars to possibly indicate 0 or a baseline. And I thought that was perfect to describe non-duality, because that's really what it is. And it's fascinating that my brother sent me. It's funny how the universe works, right? Everything, when you're so spontaneous, things just happen. Like, it's just beautiful, So Nefer, which indicates 0 or a baseline, is also used to describe perfection. So nothing, when you are nothing, you are perfect. When you're nothing, you're perfect, because then you're not taking shape, you're not taking form, and you're not hypnotizing yourself, because that's what happens when we're lost in thoughts. We're basically in a form of self-hypnosis. You're hypnotized away from this moment. And if this is your first video watching in my channel, please watch the other ones if you want much more information. And it's not really information, it's a deconditioning. But if you want more, if this is resonating with you, then I really encourage you to watch some other videos in the channel that will give you, for lack of a better word, context, even though it's not context, but to offer you some context. And fundamentally, more importantly, a deep understanding of who you really are, because that's been my biggest revelation in this life by far, and it's been the biggest grace and the greatest love I've ever had. And this is, you have to have the ears to have to hear this. You love yourself, but you realize yourself is all that exists. It's not a form. You are me, I am you. There is no separation in this actual reality. You were not born with any idea of separation. You were not born with ideas, and separation is created through ideas. So again, let's go back to that quote that came to me this morning. When you are Nothing, you are perfect. When you're something, you're a limitation. So an idea automatically, because it exists in duality, in the subject and object reality, because you create the duality yourself through your thoughts. You create the subject and object, quote unquote, what you think, again, think, concepts, what you conceptually believe to be the reality. But reality is not a thought, my friends. Realize that. You cannot think reality. You are reality. You cannot think reality. You are reality. I also want to talk about this quote. I forgot about this. I was looking this up. I love this. Senkan said, the perfect way, so let's go back to that Nefer, in ancient Egypt, the meaning of zero, which is also used for meaning perfection, or everything is, or baseline of who you are, in essence, really. But Sengan says, the perfect way is only difficult for those who pick and choose. Do not like, do not dislike. All will then be clear. Again, the perfect way is only difficult for those who pick and choose. In other words, it's only difficult when you are discriminating, because when you create a personal identity, since it is born in duality, it automatically is a limitation and it automatically discriminates. So concepts give birth to discrimination, especially when it's a conceptual identity, or especially when it's an idea that we have of who we are. So in essence, what Sengan is saying is, wake up from that discrimination and wake up from your limitation, meaning wake up to who you really are, beyond the conceptual idea, because this is just contrived ideas. You're just believing yourself to be something. But find out who is believing. Go into self-inquiry. Watch my videos on self-inquiry to be able to come to this understanding. So Senkan says, do not like, do not dislike. All will then be clear. Because when you stop discriminating, it allows you to separate, right? I love to use the hands like this because it gives you that visual, right? So you're separating. This is your body, mind, ego identity, which you are able to observe, and you're observing the whole time. So when you surrender to the moment, which means allow everything to be as it is, you automatically separate from the shell of the ego. And then you can observe it. You can observe it with detachment, because that is already your natural state. It is effortless, by the way. And hopefully you've been starting to recognize that. So as you're observing it with detachment, you can see the ephemeral nature of your thoughts, of your emotions, and more importantly, of your body-mind identity. You can start to see the fallacy. You can start to see through the illusion. And also, please realize, I mentioned this in the last video, the reason you, when I say you, if you still believe you are your mind, if you still believe you are your body, if you still believe you are your emotions, what do those three things have in common? They are all impermanent. They are all always changing. And they never stay the same. But there's one thing here that's observing your mind, that's observing your emotions, that's observing your body, that's observing everything, that is immutable, that is not changing, that is completely still. That's who you are. That's the permanence of this reality. And that permanence is very subtle because it's always here. I used an example in, I don't know which video now, of a fish. A fish is born in water, but the fish doesn't know what water is. It only feels the lack of water when you take it out of the water. When you catch the fish, then it starts to shake. It can't breathe, right? Now it knows it was always, but it never had any ideas. That's like us. When we are asleep, and most human beings are asleep, thank goodness, so many are now waking up and freeing themselves. True freedom. Freedom will never come through the concepts, my friends. So any kind of dogma that you believe that you think stands for freedom, from a conceptual level, material, three-dimensional, possibly. But essentially, it is an illusion. And that's what you need to wake up from. If this resonates, fantastic. If it doesn't, that's totally fine. The most important thing is that you keep an open mind for your own good, my friends. Because a mind is like a parachute. If it's not open, it doesn't work. And if you have an open mind, to quote my dear brother Rishi, If you don't have an open mind, you can't have an open heart. Bodhirama said, "You are already perfect. You just don't realize it." Bodhirama. So that's the thing. When you wake up, you realize you've always been pure perfection. Formless, aware, unbound, unbridled, unconditioned, totality, permanent, indelible, everlasting, goes on forever, forever. There is no time. Complete, total harmony, which you've always been. We create our own disharmony, and that is primarily, if not only attributed to our thinking. There's no negative environment. It's only our thinking that makes it that way. I think even Eckhart Tolle quoted something on that. Let me look that up because that's actually quite interesting. Okay, I found the quote by Tolle. "The primary cause of unhappiness is never the situation, but your thoughts about it. The primary cause of unhappiness is never your situation, but the thoughts that you have about it." Eckhart Tolle. Beautiful. That's it. We discriminate based on our thinking. Because when you are something, when you have created, because you're creating all of this, when you've created and sustained the idea that you are a concept, that you are a name, and then you go into concepts, realize you were not born with any concepts. You were born as what you are and have always been. Pure, open, free awareness, eternal awareness. You are the totality of everything. And that's why it's so blissful, is because you realize you are totally unbound. And that while you are dreaming yourself as a person, as a limited me, and thus dreaming the duality which constructs and brings about the subject-object reality, it's only when you wake up to that you realize it's only been subject. There is no object-subject relationship here. But the only way that we can experience is through subject and object. So in a way, it has its use, or has had its use. We need to evolve now as human beings. We've outlasted this third dimension, the dimension of materiality, and even science has already passed that in terms of quantum physics and so forth. They understand so much more that there really is nothing here. Inside an atom, there's almost nothing there. We are pretty much nothing. This is an illusion that's already been, seen by science. But I would recommend don't go to the mind. Stay away from concepts. Concepts are useful to a certain degree, but realize every concept you've ever had, every thought you've ever had is based on language, right? Language is fully conditioned. You were not born speaking language. Were you born with it? You were not. So that's already another sign, okay? But again, please refer to the previous videos about that. I wanted to share this with you. I hope it makes sense. And I encourage you, if this is resonating, the only reason I have this channel, as I've mentioned before, is just to help you, because it gives me so much joy to talk about this. It gives me so much joy to talk about the truth of who you are. So if you want help, if you want me to guide you, if you want to talk about it, and then, I'm here to help you. Take advantage of that. I don't know for how much longer. Well, who knows, right? Anything can happen. So take advantage of that, my friends. And be present. Be here now. Observe everything with detachment. Surrender. Be kind to yourself. Love and light. Namaste.